Breaking news coming in. According to sources, India and the US will be heading back to the negotiation table soon. Also, the earlier cancelled visit by US trade negotiators to Delhi will be rescheduled. Remember, that was to happen in August, but that was cancelled. I have Neeraj Shah, executive editor, joining me live on that. Along with him, I also have Gauri Dwivedi. Neeraj, bring us the details of this possible thaw in trade talks. We are being told by sources that both countries could come back to the negotiating table very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, Vedika, this is this news piece that was broken by Rishabh Bhatnagar of the NDTV network earlier today. And seemingly after, and some proof of it, you could argue, came in via the post by Donald Trump on Truth Social earlier in our morning, earlier time as well, or their evening time. So sixth round, you were rightly said, the sixth round of talks were cancelled earlier. They are likely to resume soon. I think both sides are hopeful of something happening by fall of this year, and something that Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal alluded to in the NDTV Profit GST or the NDTV Network GST conclave yesterday as well. So seemingly baby steps being taken towards a complete thaw of the relationship. How long does it take and what shape or form remains to be seen, because the last point that I'll make here is that we learn that India is going to stick to the red lines of dairy, agri, etc., and those will not be compromised with.
All right, so there you have it from Neeraj. That's a big talking point really, and a fallout also of what we're seeing over the last couple of months. There seems to be a thaw in the ties between the two countries, and that's why I'm going to bring in Gauri Dwivedi. Gauri, in the last couple of days, we've heard from Trump twice, we've heard from Prime Minister Modi twice, positive remarks coming from both leaders. Tell us about the road ahead.
Well, Vedika, the road ahead really looks uncertain, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that Trump administration, one of the hallmarks of its administration has been a lot of uncertainty. I wouldn't use the word instability, but there's been a fair bit of uncertainty because different voices within the administration come out with different concepts and different rants as well. As Neeraj pointed out, in terms of the trade negotiations, there's a clear road ahead that lies. But how do we reach there? Because there are also political uncertainties that lie. There are MAGA cheerleaders within the Trump administration which have actually held back the negotiations with regard to some of the tricky aspects of the trade deal. Will they be reined in? Will only limited aspects of the trade negotiations probably come up with the first round of talks? I think those are the larger aspects that need to be discussed. But what lies ahead clearly is an intent on both sides that they want to move past the present tensions that have resulted due to, as I said, MAGA voices which were unchecked in the Trump administration. How soon will that progress be made will, I think, also set the stage for a possible meeting and a possible visit of the Prime Minister to the US. The updated list of the UNGA speakers doesn't have Prime Minister Modi's name in it. It was there initially, but that can change. If the talks progress fast, who knows, you could actually have the two leaders meeting at the sidelines of the UNGA, but all depends on the immediate, which is what will be the roadmap in terms of the talks from here on after the two sides have indicated their intent and unified intention to take this forward.
Gauri and Neeraj, thank you for joining me on that big story. We've been tracking it since early morning. We'll keep coming back to you for your perspective. Thanks for joining me. But of course, there is politics also after the thaw, or a signal of a thaw between the two countries. Shiv Sena, UBT also coming in and making this comment.
देखिए, मैं बहुत साफ कह रहा हूँ, अमेरिका और भारत के संबंध आज के नहीं, पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने एक मजबूत आधारशिला रखी थी। पर दोनों बड़े देश हैं, मुझे पूरा भरोसा है बहुत जल्दी दोनों के बीच में संबंध स्थापित होंगे, अच्छे संबंध होंगे, क्योंकि हमारा सी फूड का बड़ा व्यापार है, टेक्सटाइल का बड़ा व्यापार है, बहुत चीज़ों पे अमेरिका हम पे निर्भर करता है। तो मैं बहुत ही साफ शब्दों में कहना चाहता हूँ, मोदी जी, इस बार मोदी और ट्रंप के बीच बात ना हो, इस बार अमेरिका और भारत के हितों की बात हो।
चीन या अमेरिका या ट्रंप, सबसे पहली बात है आप ट्रंप के साथ कुछ भी डील करो, सबसे पहले आपको ये खुलासा एक्सप्लेनेशन देना पड़ेगा कि क्या भारत और पाकिस्तान का युद्ध ट्रंप ने बंद किया, ट्रंप ने रुकवाया, जो ट्रंप बार बार बोल रहा है, उस बारे में बोलो, बाद में हम डील का देखेंगे। चलिए।
All right, and speaking at the NDTV summit, you also had Nirmala Sitharaman speaking on the tariff situation between India and US. Listen in.
There are two trends that are playing out parallelly at this time. You've got some impetus in the economy on account of the GST rate cuts that you've delivered, and then there is the headwind that plays itself out around American President Donald Trump and the tariff wave that he's sending towards India. And the economy, as you know well, is so much about animal spirits and how people feel, certainty, predictability, investment cycles. Do you think some of the cheer that you're trying to spread around Diwali is frankly just getting negated by factors so far across which you can't control and completely unpredictable in terms of when they get resolved, how they get resolved, and if they get resolved?
See, the GST reform was not triggered by the tariff. As I said, it was in the making. One. Second, the US tariff hits those exporters who export to many countries in the world and also to the US. Surely, I'm not undermining the impact of a 50% tariff, but it hits exporters who are exposed to the US, who have a market access and who export to US. In fact, I've been saying that many of these exporters were getting hit by the 50% tariff. Government is doing some kind of a work to get something so that we can, support them in some form or the other. But the inputs to making that policy or a scheme or designing a scheme will also depend on those hit by the 50% tariff and telling us to what extent they are exposed and what is the actual loss or damage because of the 50%. So by industry, first of all, we need to have an assessment of those who are exporting to the US and to what extent of their total exports and what is the hit. That is
By when
also
do you hope
some
to have this package ready?
That will be a vital input for making the package. But even otherwise, some inputs have been coming and government is working.
But it's not just about companies exporting to the United States. So you're also trying so hard to attract foreign direct investment into India. And as companies look at setting manufacturing bases up, and so many were thinking about it, work was in the pipeline. Now when the American president holds this tariff sword over their heads, are you concerned that this potentially jeopardizes, impacts the prospects of long-term foreign direct investment coming into the India story? Because I don't want to take any one company and single that out, but so many companies may have scaled up their manufacturing in India in the hope of exporting to the US and elsewhere. Now they wonder, hey, just let's wait it out. Let's see what happens.
We will, that possibility exists, but from our side, we are keeping all the doors open, if I can use that expression. The diplomatic teams are engaging with the US. The trade negotiations can still go on. So we don't, from our side, we are not making anything difficult for others, one. And second, FDI has also come through various other routes. They come through investment, wealth funds, sovereign wealth funds. They also come through various other destinations from where funds are managed. So I'm not saying this is not going to have a bearing. It will have a bearing, but we are trying to offset it. We are not engaging with other countries or other FDI sources. So work is on. I can assure that much.